Hello, I'm Mike and this is Will. We are the Tabletop Donkeys. Hello. We're reading issue 78 of Warhammer Age of Sigmar Mortal Realms magazine today. And this issue we got two bases, one large oval one for the Mortis Engine and a round one for the upcoming Celestant Prime. And as always, if you'd like to skip to the battle report so you can see the Mortis Engine in action, you can use the timecode in the description or the chapter bars. But first up, we'll have a look through the issue contents. So first up we have background on Gur, the realm of beasts. We've learned a little about Gur before, where even the continents eat each other, as a sort of survival of the fittest. It's a teeming with life, almost a sort of dark version of Giran, where it's much more savage and animalistic. And even though the forces of chaos have had their grip on the realm loosened, it's still a very savage and brutal place. And in the picture there, you can see the Oryx fighting against the Seraphon. And it's also said that in the Age of Myth that Sigmar himself fought against the twin-headed god Gorka Morka, and their battles shaped the lands of Gur itself. And there you can see there, it's very rich in primal magic. It's home to countless monsters, as well as Oryx, humans and Gargants. So the people who live there need to be particularly hardy. And mentions Beastgrave, which was setting for some of the Warhammer underworlds. Yeah, so it's similar to Shadespire, where it seems to attract and trap people foolish enough to wander there. And it mentions some of the warbands here. You've got Skaith's Wildhunt and Nashrek's Despoilers. So a force of Kernothi elves and beastmen alike, respectively. And more history of the Realmgate Wars. So this was the assault on the All Points, also known as the 8 Points, which was Archaon's fortress in the area, the point that connects the mortal realms. It goes over the Stormcast, or the forces of order, trying to retake the All Points from Archaon, and weren't totally successful in doing so. And you can see they fought over the various gates here. The Forces of Order were able to win on Akshi and Giran, and the Hallowed Knights being able to retake the Genesis Gate from the Forces of Nurgle, and Vander's Hammerhand fighting against Skarbrand to take control of the Brimfire Gate. Unfortunately, they were not so successful at the End Gate in Shyish, where the Forces of Nagash failed to come to the aid of the Anvils of the Heldenhammer, and so Chaos was able to maintain control of the End Gate, and the Celestial Vindicators were close to taking the Mercurial Gate on the Realm of Metal. Unfortunately, the hero Thostos Bladestorm was slain by Archaon himself, and Chaos was able to win there. Here we have background on Knights Heraldor, another of the many knightly classes for the Stormcast Eternals. They carry mystical horns onto the battlefield, whose music is able to inspire not only the Stormcast, but the many forces of order, but is also powerful enough to destroy buildings. So it's incredibly dangerous to the enemies of the forces of order. And you can see here an alternate model and some of the equipment they carry. And now we have the second half of the painting guide for the Mortis Engine. This is going over the Banshees that carry the palanquin and will be attached to the base, as well as the cage door and the Banshees that swirl around the top. So the cage door itself is painted in the same way as the rest of the cage, and the Banshees and the sort of a spirit host that's at the bottom is painted similar to all the other spooky bits as the other Nighthaunt, so it's just Nihilog oxide over white. And also any details you've added to the base need to be done now, so you have all the sub-assemblies complete. And you can actually put it together. So this is where you need to take all the blue tack off. Putting the throne, or whatever you call it, on top is fairly easy. There's 4 connecting points that are fairly easy to see. The Banshees themselves are a little bit harder. There's a little notch near the cage for one, and another notch on one of the flames at the back for another, and the last one sits on the top, like that. It's probably worth trying to find pictures of the model or using the Games Workshop store to get a clearer view of it. You don't get a particularly good view of it here in the magazine, unfortunately. But there you can see the completed model. It's certainly an impressive conclusion to the Nighthaunt collection. And there's another view of it there. And now I'll hand you over to Will so we can look at the Mortis Engine's Warscroll and get into our game for this issue.
So of course we have the Warscroll for the Mortis Engine, and this is quite a substantial amount of rules because it's obviously quite a big model and does a lot of different things. You'll notice immediately on its profile that it has several things that are denoted by a star rather than an actual number, and that's because as it takes wounds, these characteristics actually change. You can see it has a damage table here, and depending on how many wounds it's suffered, all of the things with an asterisk are replaced according to this table. So you can see, for example, it starts with a move of 14 inches, and this goes down to 12, then 10, then 8, then 6 inches as it suffers wounds. and in various brackets as indicated on the left. Its Wail of the Damned ability and Spectral Claws and Blades also decrease in power. It has 12 wounds to start with and a 4+ save and 10 bravery, not that that's really that relevant. Its Wail of the Damned is a special attack, which I'll explain in a minute, but it also has the Mortis staff carried by the Necromancer, which just has 2 attacks which hit on 4s and wound on 3s with a red -1 and D3 damage. And the Spectral Claws and Blades are basically a spirit host, but the number of attacks begins at 12 and then decreases down to 4 as it takes damage. It can fly. It is not ethereal because it's not a Nighthaunt unit. We'll get to that in a minute, but that does mean it will suffer the effects of the rend of the Stormcast attacks. The Frightful Touch, that's just the spirit host ability on its Spectral Claws and Blades. So the Wail of the Damned is a missile weapon, but rather than rolling an attack sequence, when you use it in the shooting phase, every enemy unit within the range, which decreases as it takes damage, will take D3 mortal wounds on a roll of a 4+. It also has an ability called the Reliquary, which you use in your hero phase, and it's basically the same, but every unit within 12 inches suffers mortal wounds on a 2+, and it's actually every unit, including friendly ones, unless they have the death keyword, so obviously they won't affect all the Nighthaunt stuff, and you only use that once. The Bound Necromancer ability means that normally friendly Soulblight Gravelords wizards, that's vampires and things, get +1 to their casting rolls within 12 inches of it, but it specifically says if you're playing a game from the Mortal Realms collection, then Nighthaunt wizards also gain that benefit. That's just to make up the fact that this isn't actually a Nighthaunt unit and it wouldn't normally affect them, but we get it with the collection anyway. Yes, so just looking at its keywords, it does not have the Nighthaunt keyword, so it won't actually benefit from a variety of abilities that the Nighthaunt stuff have. But it also means it won't suffer from Stormcast abilities that specifically affect Nighthaunt units, like the Secretors or the Castigator's extra hits, or the Lord Exorcist's spell. And over the page there's a tutorial with an explanation of all these abilities, so this is how the damage table works, and the Wail of the Damned ability, and finally the Reliquary. And then the background for our game, so obviously the Nighthaunt have managed to build and activate this Mortis Engine, and the Stormcast Eternals can't let this roam around freely, so they've resolved to destroy it. So we have another of our strategic overview maps, so you can see at the top there is where the Mortis Engine has arrived, and the Stormcast are moving to intercept it. Stormcast mages have also gathered around an orrery where they're trying to contact Aesir to send for reinforcements, and down the bottom is a bit more about what happened in the previous issue with the Stormcast launching an all-out attack on the Forge of Rexxar. And then, as usual, a bit more about the motivations of the factions and the forces lists for this game. And so our Battleplan, Engine of Destruction. This obviously takes place in the realm of fire as usual. There are 5 objectives set up, and we set up 4 pieces of terrain. The Nighthaunt begin deploying first. Here's the battle map, the 5 objectives. There's one in the centre, and then one 16 inches on from the short edges in line with the edge of side's territory, which is 10 inches on from the long edges in that configuration that you can see there. Game lasts for 5 battle rounds, and victory points are scored at the end of each turn for holding objectives. The player whose turn it is controls, but if at the end of their turn they control all 5 at once, they gain an additional D6 victory points. The armies, the Nighthaunt have 2 choices from their heroes and 5 from their troops, and the Mortis Engine, with the Stormcast have 3 hero choices and 6 troops. So we'll get everything set up, show you our armies, and then get straight into the game. So here's the Nighthaunt army.
For my 2 hero choices, I've got a Knight of Shrouds, who's part of a Shroud Guard battalion, and a Guardian of Souls. Obviously at the back there you can see the Mortis Engine, and then for my other 3 units I have a unit of 5 Dreadscythe Harridans, a unit of 5 Hexface, and a unit of 3 Spirit Hosts. So for my general will be the Knight of Shrouds. I'll give him Master of Black Arts and the Black Amulet. I get another artifact of power, so I'll give the Guardian of Souls the Cloak of Mist and Shadows.
And here is my Stormcast army. My 3 hero choices are the Knight Equestor, Zandria Azabult, Knight Incantor, and Neve Blacktalon. And my 6 unit choices, I've got 2 units of 5 Secretors, a unit of 3 Retributors, a unit of 4 Gryph-hounds, 3 Vanguard Raptors with long-strike crossbows, and 5 Judicators. My general will be the Knight Questor. He'll have the Tenacious command trait for an extra wound. He'll also have the Relic Blade artifact, giving him an extra damage. So here's the board set up with all the models deployed and the objectives, which you can see 1 in the middle and then 4 sort of spread out towards the corners of the board. Having a look at the terrain across the middle, we've got a sinister fallen Sigmar head. In the middle there, an inspiring bell tower. And the other side, a damned Sigmarite mausoleum and a mystical Sigmar statue. Having a look at the Stormcast deployment, we've got the Gryph-hounds out on the left flank, standing on top of the left corner objective. Big block of Stormcast in the middle, starting with Neve Blacktalon on the left, the Secretors and the Vanguard Raptors. Then Judicators, with behind them is Zandria Azabult and the Retributors, and then the Knight Questor. And on the far side, the other unit of Secretors. And then for the Nighthaunt deployment, again going from left to right.
So you've got the Dreadscythe Harridans and the Spirit Hosts with the Guardian of Souls behind them. In the middle is my Warscroll battalion, the Shroud Guard battalion with the 2 units of 5 Blade Geist and the Knight of Shrouds. And to the right of them is the Mortis Engine. And then on the flank are the X-rays.
And I did win the previous game, and I rolled off for a triumph, and I got the one that lets me reroll wounds once per game. So with all of that, we'll be rolling off to see who goes first in the first battle round. I'll have one. And I think I will go first, because then I can do some shooting before the Nighthaunt get to do anything. So on to Stormcast, turn 1. I gained a command point at the start of my hero phase. The Nighthaunt already have one because they have a Warscroll battalion. And I've only got one wizard, the Knight Incantor, who will cast Spirit Storm on a 7. She fails with a 4. And then for my movement, the Greyhound's just moved up normally, getting to there, Neve Black Talon Rand, getting herself to there, near the Mausoleum. In the middle, both the Secretors and the Retributors ran. We've got 4 models in range of the central objective. The Judicator's moving up behind with the 2 other heroes. And these Secretors just ran a little bit, just to spread out on the flank. On to the shooting phase, we'll start with some long-range shots from the Vanguard Raptors into the Mortis Engine. They are in range because they didn't move. 3 shots hitting on 2s. We've got 1 miss. We've got a 6 which does 2 mortal wounds. The normal hit wounds on 3. It does not.
Mortis Engine is a death unit, so I do have a chance to ignore some damage on a 6. Oh, I do ignore 1. It's just 1 damage.
So it's down to 11 wounds, which is not enough to reduce its characteristics. The Judicators will shoot at it as well, starting with a shot roll bow, which hits on a 3. That's a hit. And it is D6 hits, 4. The other 4 hit on 3s, or the prime hits on a 2. We've got 2 more hits from that, so 6 hits in total, which wound on 3s. 4 wounds. These have a rend of -1, and it does not ignore it because it has. It's because it doesn't have the ethereal rule.
Yeah. So 5+ saves. Didn't make any. Ignoring damage on 6s. Ignored another one. So it's 3 more damage. It's down to 8.
So it's down to 8 wounds, which means it's taken 4, which means that its move is reduced to 12 inches. The Wail of the Damned ability has only got 10 inch range, and it only gets 10 attacks with its spectral claws. But that's it for my turn. Obviously, no charges, no more shooting. I gain 3 victory points for holding my 2 home objectives and the central one at the end of my turn. And we're on to Nighthaunt turn 1.
Again, a command point go up to 2, and then I'm going to start spellcasting with the Knight of Shrouds. He's going to try and cast Mystic Shield. He gets a 12 because he gets +1 from the Mortis Engine.
And I can't unbind that.
And he's going to put it on the Mortis Engine. So we'll just start with the main mob in the movement phase. The Spirit Engine's moving up 12 to get in the middle. You can get a big chunk of the Stormcast units in range where it is. The Shroud Guard Battalion's moving up. Guardian of Souls round so you can get closer to the action. And the Spirit Hosts moving up with them. And the Harridans are going to try and entice those Griff Hands in a bit rather than going after them because they have their annoying fallback move. And they're not in range to take the objective if they run. And I don't want to leave them on the objective so that they can be charged. And then the Hex Race are just going to move up normally and try and do some damage to those Secretors. So in the shooting phase, both units of Secretors, the Retributors and the Judicators are all in range of the Mortis Engine's Wail of the Damned.
Yeah, which is 10 inch range at the moment, but it's still plenty distance.
So we go left to right, so the first unit of Secretors on a 4+, no. The Retributors, no. The Judicators, no. And the other Secretors, yes. Taking D3, 2.
That kills the Secretor. We'll lose this Secretor.
Going to start the charge phase with the Hex Wraiths. They get a 5, that isn't going to be enough, but I'm just going to check something.
No, not quite in range, they needed a 6.
Yeah, I'm not in range to reroll it either. This unit of Blade Geist will declare a charge. Going to need to be a fairly decent roll. A 9. Oh, I'll check. So that is enough to get them in, just the bare minimum. I think that will be it for charges. So in the fight phase, I'm going to use Lord of Geist on that unit. I'm also going to use the Guardian of Souls, Cloak of Mist and Shadows to move him slightly closer so that they can be wholly within 12 and hopefully get all of them in.
And the Secretors are going to do Powder Shields.
And all those Blade Geists, they can just about squeeze themselves in so that they can all be within an inch of a Secretor and 3 inches away from anything else. So we've got 20 attacks, +1 for charging, +1 for Lord of Geists, hitting on 3s. So 12 hits, wounding on 2s, getting 11 wounds.
Then -1, so 5+ saves, we're rolling 1s, 2s and 3s because of Powder Shields. Ooh, that's a pretty good roll. There's 1 4 which I can't re-roll, but these 1s and 2s I can. No more successes. So there's 3 wounds, but that's pretty good after all that. So this Sector will die, and that one takes a wound, and then they'll fight back. They'll pile in just like that. And the Great Mace is hit on 3s. No re-rolls, but that 6 is a D3 hits for 2. Wounding on 3s, 2 wounds.
4+ save, made both.
And 5 normal maces hitting on 3s. We've got 4, wounding on 3s, 2.
4+ it again, made 1. 5+ to ignore. Yes.
So not much damage inflicted in that combat, but that will be it for the fight phase. And the Nighthaunt do claim the essential objective by having more models on it, so they go up to 3 victory points as well as we head into Battle Round 2. Rolling off. 3.
5. I will choose to go first.
So on to Nighthaunt turn 2.
So we'll do some spell casting first. I'll start with the Knight of Shrouds. He'll try and cast Fireball. Gets +1 to this roll. So he gets an 8, which is enough.
I'll try and unbind that, needing a 9 or a 10. Okay.
And then the Guardian of Souls will try and do Mystic Shield, also getting +1. So he gets an 8 as well.
And I won't unbind that.
And he'll put it on the Mortis Engine. And I will also use the Mortis Engine's once per game Reliquary, so it's just a bigger version of its ranged attack already. And it's going to hit everything except for the Vanguard Raptors, Knave Blackton and the Gryph-hounds.
Because the range of this does not go down with its profile.
Yeah, so on a 2+, these going from left to right, the Sequitors, yes, take D3 for 2. Zandria takes D3 for 3. The Judicators, yes, take D3 for 1. The Retributors take D3 for 1. The Night Questor takes 3. And the other Sequitors, yes, take 3.
So that's the aftermath of that. Only 2 models dying, but quite a lot of damage spread around.
So everyone's moving up in the middle. Mortis Engine's scooching up a little bit just so it can get more things in range to wail at. The Hexray's moving up to get 3 inches away from those Sequitors. Blade Geist's moving up to get in, and the 2 heroes huddling around the Mortis Engine so they can provide aura support. And the Spirit Hosts and the Harridans are going to back them up. So in the shooting phase, we've got the Mortis Engine's Wail of the Damned, which is going to hit everything again except the Vanguard Raptors and Knave and the Gryph-hounds. So the Sequitors on a 4+, no. Zandria, yes, takes D3 mortal wounds for 2.
She's dead.
Judicators, yes, D3, 1. Retributors, no. Night Questor, yes, D3, 2.
Down to 1 wound.
Other Sequitors, no.
So Zandria is dead along with 1 Retributor, and Night Questor's down to 1.
So I'll start with the charge phase. I'll start with the Hex phase again. 3 is enough to get them in.
So they get in like that.
I'll do the Blade Geist next. The unengaged ones. Yes, 3 as well. I'm going to spend a command point to re-roll that. A 9, that's better. So they'll finish their charge like that, and then the Knight of Shrouds will charge as well. Only needs a decent roll. 7. Might be enough. So that gets the Knight of Shrouds in to the Sequitors in front, and I'll charge the Spirit Hosts. Gonna need a big roll. 6 isn't going to be enough. And I'll charge the Mortis Engine as well. A 10 is definitely enough. So the Mortis Engine charges into the Retributors like that, staying 3 inches away from the Night Questor. So I'm going to put Lord of Geist on the unit of Blade Geist that charged. So just going to tuck the Guardian of Souls in under the Mortis Engine.
And both units of Sequitors will do power to weapons. So
I'll do the unit of Blade Geist that charged first, and they're just going to get in so they can all attack the Retributors. So we've got 20 attacks hitting on 3s, or 1s and 2s again. Yeah, it's 12 hits again. 12 hits wounding on 2s. They're only getting 8.
8, 5 plus saves. Made 3, so 5 damage will kill everyone except the Prime, basically. I'll pick this unit of Sequitors fighting the Hex Race to go. 5 attacks from Great Maces hitting on 3s, re-rolling misses. We've got 1 miss to re-roll and a 6 so far. They all hit. The 6 is just 1, so 5 hits. Which wound on 3s. No, only 2.
4 plus saves, fail both, so it's 4 damage.
Yeah, they're not in range of a hero. And the normal mace hits once re-rolling, and only hits once, wounds on a 3. No.
So that's 2 dead Hex Wraiths, and I'll take away these 2. I'll do the Knight of Shrouds next. Doesn't need to pile in. I'm going to attack those Sequitors. 4 attacks on 3s, he gets 1 hit. Oh boy, am I going to regret this. Wounds on a 2. He wounded at least.
5 plus save. No, and I can't re-roll that.
2 attacks from Horse hitting on 4s. See, it's way better than the Rider. Wounds on 4s. 2 wounds.
2 4 pluses, re-rolling ones. Yeah.
It's 1 damage, so 3 damage.
3 damage total. We'll lose the Prime, so just leaving 1 big mace left. I'll do that Sequitor next, just piled in slightly. But it'll attack the Blade Geists to its left. 2 attacks on 3s, re-rolling misses. Oh, well, 1 hit and 6. The 6 is just the same hit, so just 2. Which wound on 3s? Oh, no, 2 2s.
We're going to risk it for a biscuit with the Mortis Engine. We're going to pile in so we get in range of the Night Questor as well. So we're going to put the Spectral Claws and Blades on the Night Questor, see if we can get a mortal wound, and then the Staff on the Necromancer on the Retributor Prime. And we'll do the Claws and Blades first. 10 attacks hitting on 5s. Yep, 10 dice, we got a mortal wound. And then 2 attacks with the Staff from the bloke on top on 4s. He hits once. Wounds on a 3. He does. Rend -1.
So yep. 5+ on the Prime? Nope.
D3 damage. 1.
No, it's down to 2. I've just got the Prime and the Judicators left, so we'll do the Prime. He's going to attack the Mortis Engine. 3 attacks, hitting on 3s?
Yeah, 6 to do mortal wounds.
2 hits, no mortal wounds. Wounding on 3s. No.
Do the other unit of Blade guys that didn't charge. They have to do maintain a sort of funny formation because the one at the end is closest to Knave, so you can't pile in. So we've only got 3 fighting, so 6 attacks hitting on 3s, getting 5, wounding on 2s, getting 4.
4 5+. Made 2, but still 2 damage is enough to kill that Sector. And the Adjudicators will pile in and they'll put all their attacks on the unit of Blade Geist in the middle. 1 attack each. Normal guys hit on 3s, Prime hits on a 2. They all hit. Wounding on 4s. 3 wounds.
4+ saves. Made 1. 5+ to ignore. Ignored both. Just the Hex Wraiths left and they're going to pile in around, so that guy on the end is within range of the objective, and if I can kill that wounded Secretary, I'll be able to take it at the end of the round. 7 scythe attacks, hitting on 4s. 6s do mortal wounds. No mortal wounds, and 3 hits. Wounding on 3s, getting 2, -1.
5+. Now I get 2 damage, it kills that Sector.
6 force attacks on 4s, getting 3 hits as well. And 5s, getting another wound.
Another 4+. But rerolling ones, because there is a shield alive at that point. No, still failed. 3 damage. Losing these 2, leaving the Prime. That's all of the fighting. But that lone Sector Prime on the end and the Retributor Prime in the middle both have to make battle shock tests. Sector's lost 3 this turn, so they need to roll under a 5. Oh, 1's good. And the Retributor Prime on a 6 will run away. Yeah, but he can re-roll because he's order. That's a few. That's better. And the Nighthaunt do take control of the objective down at the bottom right with the Hex Wraiths. So they gain 4 victory points and go up to 7 as we go into Stormcast turn 2. Not much I can do here. We're going to keep everybody in melee because I just have to do damage. Falling back or retreating won't help. Neve Blacktalon's moved about an inch because you can't get any closer to those Blade Geists, but I did in the command phase spend a command point to give a Blazing Fervour, so I can give a +1 to a charge roll. Vanguard Raptors have moved back towards the back corner objective. And the Griffhounds, even with a maximum run, can't get in range of that objective, so they've just moved around a bit to take it next turn. Hopefully I can get the double turn and take it back. In the shooting phase, we'll start with the Judicators, because they can shoot only at things they're in melee with, so they'll shoot at the Blade Geist right in front of them. Shockbolt Bow on 3. Oh, it missed. Others on 3s or 2. That's 2 hits. Wounding on 3s, 1.
4+, yes.
Neve Blacktalon is only in range of the Blade Geist right in front of her. 2 shots hitting on 3s. Yep. Wounding on 3s, 1.
We got a 4+, which we made.
And the Vanguard Raptors are going to shoot at the unit of Blade Geists that are fighting the Judicators. 3 shots on 2s. 3 1s. Well, that's about it. That's about as well as it's been going. No, it's not looking good, but Neve Blacktown is going to charge, see if she can save the day. Well, a 7 will do, which is an 8 because of the Blazing Fervour. Attempting to go after the Night Shrouds, but I think it's more important to get rid of models, so we're going to attack these Blade Geists here. Secretary Prime at start the fight phase will do power to weapons. We're going to go with the Retributor Prime first, so you can have a go at those Blade Geists again. 3 attacks on 3s, 6s do mortal wounds. So we've got 2 normal hits. Wounding on 3s. Nope.
So I'll do the Blade Geist near Knave. There's going to pile in all around her. And attacks hitting on 3s. Getting 8. Wounding on 2s. Getting 7.
Down to a 4+ save. No, only failed 2. She's down to 4 wounds. Do this Secretary Prime over here next. Going to pile around a bit, can't quite get to the objective. 3 attacks hitting on 3s, re-rolling. Oh, 2 6s and a normal hit. 6s are 3 hits, so 4 total. Wounding on 3s, 1.
4+, yes. Do the Knight of Shrouds next. He's going to pile in to get in range of the Judicators. 4 attacks hitting on 3s. Hey, he got 1 again. And 2s. He wounded.
5+. Made it.
Can his horse do a better job? He's equally as good at hitting. Didn't wound.
I'll do the Judicators in the middle. They're going to put all their attacks on the Blade Geists. Prime hits on a 2, everyone else on 3s. 3 hits, winning on 3s, 4s rather, so nothing.
I'll do the 3 hex trace, all going to pile in round. Probably get most of them on the objective, certainly more than they are on Sacred Wars. 7 attacks on 4, 6 to do mortal wounds. Oh, we got 2 mortal wounds. Seized it.
And lastly, I have new Black Talon. I'm going to use my Triumph here. I mean, well, I haven't seen my wound rolls yet, but don't think there's going to be any other chances to use it. 8 attacks, because she charged. Hitting on 3s. Well, I only got 3. Winning on 3s, yeah, we'll use the Triumph to reroll. We're going to need it. Yay, 2 wounds.
4s. Failed both. Ignoring damage. Ignored 1. You killed a Bladegeist. And we'll use this one. The Mortis Engine. It's just going to put everything on the Retributive Prime. Do these Spectral Claws first. 10 attacks hitting on 5s. 6 to do mortal wounds. There's 2 mortal wounds. And he's got 2 wounds left. And finally I've got those Bladegheists. No need to pile in, so 10 attacks on 3s. Getting 8. And 2s. Getting 7.
7 5+ saves. Made 1. 6 damage, we'll leave just the Prime. Actually, we'll leave the Shockbolt Bow, who now has a fairly decent chance to run away, because that's all the fighting happened. Don't want to see a 5 or a 6. We can re-roll. Hey, he runs away. So that guy runs away. That's the end of my turn. I'm going to gain 1 victory point because I only hold the 1 objective down the bottom. And I think at that point I will concede because I have 8 models left and I have killed 3 Nighthaunt models. They have 3 victory point lead, but they're most likely going to be 7 victory point lead in a minute. Yeah, the Gryph-hounds can go and take that objective in the top left, but it's not going to make a difference to the outcome. The Nighthaunt have got complete control of the board. Yeah, definitely a Nighthaunt victory this one, I think. And we'll recap the game for you now. Well, that was the game for issue 78 of Warhammer Age of Sigmar Mortal Realms magazine. How do you think that went?
Don't think it really could have gone much better. Probably not for anything I did. I think it's just because your wound rolls were absolutely appalling.
They were, but honestly, I think I lost the game possibly by going first, because then you just got the double turn and being able to do a lot of damage with the Mortis Engine in the middle there. I hit all of your decent melee units except for Knave as well. If I'd let you go first, I would have been able to move up and would have given you some control of the central objective though. That was the problem. I wanted to get on the central objective and get some points, or a point, and shoot you a bit. But also I think possibly focusing on shooting the Mortis Engine was a waste of time as well. I should have just attacked other things, tried to reduce the number of models you had, because as we saw, even when it's damaged, the Mortis Engine's explosion range is still pretty big, so it can still get in and do a lot of damage with that, and it's really fast as well, so it splattered damage across the whole of the middle of my army, all of my units in the middle, and then you were just able to charge in and mop up what was left, really. I did also roll terribly. I tried to cast 1 spell and it failed, and then my wizard died. My wound rolls were consistently terrible, and I think you made most of your save rolls as well.
Yeah, it went pretty well. I mean, 2 of my units didn't even do anything, and I only lost 3 models.
Even if I'd won the turn roll off for turn 3,
yes,
my Gryph-hounds could have taken that objective, which have got me 1 point, and then you would have got at least 3, if not 4, in the next turn, and you'd easily have been able to do something about the Vanguard Raptors and finish off Neve, and would have been able to take that objective back as well from the Gryph-hounds with the Banshees and the Spirit Hosts. So it was never going to improve from where I started there.
Yeah, at the very least, I would still hold the 2 objectives on the right-hand side of the board. I don't think you could ever get on those.
Perhaps I should have taken another fast unit, but it's quite difficult in a game like this. Well, I don't have that many good fast units to start with. Gryph-hounds aren't brilliant, but they are fast and they have that annoying retreat move, and otherwise mostly just went for hitting power, but that's not much use when you can't roll anything other than a wild 2 to wound, but also when you get charged by angry Bladegheists. I think actually the charge of your Bladegeist in your first turn that you did make a 9-inch charge for kind of scuppered me anyway, because even if I were able to go first in turn 2, you had a unit in the way. I wouldn't have been able to send in the Night Quest or the Night Encounter or to blow up Spirit Flasks or anything, and I wasn't able to go and engage the Mortis Engine either, or shoot it down before it could do the super explosion. Whereas if you hadn't made that charge, I might have at least had a bit more wiggle room.
Well, I suppose we should talk about the Mortis Engine. It is a suitably impressive final thing, but I guess the main issue is that it isn't a Nighthaunt unit, and it has to have its own special rule to make it useful in the Nighthaunt army, with the +1 to casting. I guess it is a sort of weird... Well, it's an older kit from a time when the Nighthaunt didn't exist. And considering it's very spooky, it's a bit odd that it's not a Nighthaunt unit. Games Workshop don't like to have units that are available to multiple factions, so it's at this weird spot where it could be easily have been a Nighthaunt unit, but then you have the Black Coach, which would have made more sense since that is a Nighthaunt unit, but it's also a very expensive model, whereas the Mortis Engine's about half the cost of the Black Coach. incidentally, I think you actually don't think you really get that much savings based on getting this across 4 issues. But it's in this weird spot. Although you do get the parts with the kit to build a vampire version or 2 vampire versions, which again are in this sort of weird spot because you still have all the race.
Well, I think the thing is, it has a living, well, technically living necromancer on it, so it's not. But it's strange because it also fits the aesthetic of the Nighthaunt probably better than it does, the Soul-like Gravelords, which is the faction it's actually part of. As you say, I think it does just come down to the cost. The Nighthaunt Black Coach I think it's probably more now. I think when this magazine came out, it was about £75, whereas the Mortis Engine was about £37.50 or £40 or something. Yeah, as you say, there's not really any saving across the 4 issues, and they're not giving you at the time, relatively new and large expensive model for half price. I kind of feel like, although it's a very big, impressive model, I kind of feel like Lady Olinda would have done as a centrepiece for the Nighthaunt army. Could have got her in this fight as the final Nighthaunt thing. I think that still would have been fairly impressive.
Yeah. Although she was only over 1 sprue though, and she's not very big. Got to have a big thing. I will say that even though it isn't a Nighthaunt unit, you can still use it in a Nighthaunt army. There are rules for using other units from other factions as allied units, so it still fits. It would still fit in a death army without ruining things.
It doesn't benefit from most of their aura abilities and things like that. Yeah, it's not ethereal, so it suffers from rend. Fortunately, I wounded it so little we didn't actually have to look up what most of the Stormcast units' rend was, because it's never been relevant with this magazine before. The +1 to casting is very handy. Obviously, normally it would be for sort of like Gravelords units. And yeah, and its explosion thing is just very dangerous.
Yeah, I guess it really depends on who you're against. I think against small elite armies, like the Stormcast, is pretty dangerous. Against Horde armies, it's not going to be too useful. And it's not super great in melee. The champion on top of it is 2 stick attacks, and it's just 2 spirit hosts stuck together, and it's best bracket as well. So it's not amazing.
Yeah, it is very telling against a small Stormcast army, to be honest, yes. It's,
and being able to hit heroes with it, getting 2 big rolls and damage was pretty handy.
Yeah. In fact, perhaps my tactic in this game should actually have been to split my army in 2 and ignore the central objective and try to go for the flanks, and then you would have had to send it one way or the other. That's actually a possibility I hadn't thought of until just now, but because a lot of its effectiveness was because when you had the initiative you were able to move it and get a huge amount of things in range, and it did it in for my wizard, for example, just solely with its ranged abilities.
Yeah, although given its huge speed and ability to fly, it's probably not going to be able to get away from it.
Yeah. The only damage I did to it was in my first turn of shooting, but it does go to show that in Age of Sigmar, it doesn't matter how big something is, because you're always rolling to hit and wound on the same rolls, you can damage even big things relatively easily. It's not like a big monster that is actually really tough.
Yeah,
it's with only a 4+ save. Yeah, I did consider bringing Celestar Ballistas in this game. Actually, they would have probably done quite a lot of damage to it because they have quite a hefty rend on them and a lot of shots.
But on the other hand, it is a very good distraction for all your other things.
Yes, well, I did that actually between attacking it and not attacking it, and in the end barely damaged anything at all.
And it is only 1 model in the grand scheme of things, so even if it dies, it might die, and it is a powerful model, and in future games you'll actually take up 2 unit choices as well, not 1 of each. But in the games with objectives, sometimes losing 1 big model isn't as bad as losing 5 little models.
No, indeed. And then painting and constructing it, a relatively lengthy process, I suppose, but a lot of it is just spooky colours, depending on how you want to paint them. Yeah,
the main issue with putting it together is figuring out exactly how the banshees go on and getting the door in without scraping too much paint off. But all the spooky spectral stuff is pretty easy. It's the same as all the others. Yeah. And I did do some freehand on the book and things, but you don't need to do that. It's not too bad if you do it. If you built it all and then started painting it, then you are clearly a madman, because that would be nigh impossible to get into the reliquary inside the cage structure. Yeah. So you're certainly very brave if you did it that way. I would definitely recommend doing the sub-assemblies.
Right, but anyway, I think that's it for this episode and this video. So let us know what you thought about the Mortis Engine and its inclusion with this collection. If there's anything we didn't cover, or if you have your opinions on that. If you like the video, then leave a like and subscribe. And we've been the Tabletop Donkeys, and we'll see you in the next one.
Bye for now.